Hello,
and welcome to Mystic in the Machine. We have a super fun show planned for you tonight, but first, an announcement, a very, very exciting announcement. Late Stage Babylon, my book, is finally available for pre-order. I'm super excited. Thank you. It's absolutely everywhere, so anywhere you want to purchase it.
everywhere you buy books.
Yeah, everywhere you buy books, basically, it'll be there. It's not out till November 11th, but you can now officially pre-order. And it's been super surreal this week to like see my book on like the Penguin website and like, I don't know. It's just
Barnes
like,
and Noble, where
Barnes and Noble,
you would hang out and stuff.
Yeah, where I would like hang out as a kid and stuff. Like I'm really overwhelmed and like super happy.
Super proud of you, sweetheart. It's
Do you
amazing.
should we have a look at it? Should we have a look at it?
Yeah, sure. Hang on. Let me switcheroo.
Do. There we go. Voila. There it is. Front cover and all, and synopsis of what the book is about. There's also a link in the description as well for you to go and pre-order. But if you're in America, if you pre-order at Barnes & Noble, you get a 25% discount. And I think that only applies to the American audience. So yeah, if you're interested to see what I've been working on for the last year.
Wait, they get 25% off and we get tariffs?
Yeah, unfortunately.
How the fuck does that work?
We get tariffs.
That's bullshit.
Oh well. But yeah, if you're curious,
That's Late Stage Babylon.
That is Late Stage Babylon for sure. But yeah, if you're curious about what I've been working on for the last year and why I haven't been focusing as much on video content and podcast stuff, that's why I've been writing a book. And I'm really proud of it, and it's finally going to be on your shelves on November 11th, 2025. My baby is a Scorpio, which I'm...
Oh, what, because when it comes out?
Yeah.
What? Why is it a Scorpio? So because of when it comes out in November?
Out,
oh,
so
okay,
my first
yeah.
child is technically
I was going to be like, I'm November. I'm not a fucking Scorpio. But it's
You're
like,
late
because
November.
I'm at the very end of November.
Yeah, I was hoping that it would be a Sagittarius baby like you, but unfortunately, well, no, fortunately, I love Scorpios. Scorpios are like one of my favorite signs. But yeah, I am like a proud mom. It's like, it is my baby, really. I'm the same age my mom was when she had me, and I haven't had a kid, but I have a book, so.
It's been in the works longer than a baby.
Yeah, pretty much.
So.
Pretty much. And I've been stressing you out the whole time.
Yeah.
I've been creating it, so it has kind of felt like our baby in a way. You're the dad of the book.
I've gone Justin Grey and bold as if it was a baby. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, yeah.
Fantastic.
Nick Hamlin says, "Amazing title, Angie." Thank you. I really like the title too. I was a bit like, oh, is it like, does it sound like, I don't know, like David Icke or whatever?
Not at all.
Well, yeah, I'm excited. And I really implore you to pre-order. It would mean a lot to me. I don't normally ask for, like, stuff on Patreon or really do much self-promotion or asking outreach in that regard. So this is my one time.
And it's safe to pre-order. It's safe to pre-order books, guys. They're not like video games.
Exactly.
Okay, you're not gonna get it and it's broken. Okay, you get it and it's a full book.
It's a full book.
There's no patches, and it's just gonna be there to read. So you can pre-order it safely without any doubt.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, it's fully written as well. So there's no
extra bit.
No extra bit. No extra bit. But yeah, I'm super excited, and I'm a bit annoyed that I have to wait 3 months though. I kind of want it to happen now, but it's
I'm sure you'll get like a test copy a bit earlier.
Yeah, I
or
hope
something
so.
like that.
I hope so. I want one to send to my mom and like all of that stuff. So yeah. Well, anyway, enough about me. Let's move. Neil says, get the book and half the words are missing. I get the book and half the words are missing.
Yeah, they come in the patch. I lied.
But that's really awesome though. Thank you very much. I'm chuffed to bits. And yeah, just to reiterate, it's everywhere where books are available. Go pre-order, please. Thank you very much. Anyway, moving on to our topics for the evening. Jeff Bezos' wedding happened, and I thought it'd be really interesting to talk about that.
Billionaires in Venice.
Yeah, Billionaires in Venice. I dare you to say.
It's one we can all say.
You can't say the N words in Paris.
I'm not allowed. Even being your fiance, I don't think gives me.
Doesn't give you an N word pass.
Doesn't give me an N word pass.
Unfortunately, no. But yeah. Let's watch the little news clip so that everyone can get a vibe of what went down in Venice. When was it? Like last week or the week before?
Last week, I think.
Tonight, Lauren Sanchez is now Lauren Sanchez Bezos, according to her new Instagram post, sharing a picture of the beaming couple, revealing her custom Dolce & Gabbana gown, now gracing the digital cover of Vogue.
Hi, Lorraine, congratulations!
Just hours earlier, before changing into her wedding gown, Sanchez...
Is it me? I mean, she's a really unattractive woman, in my opinion. But like every time, like on Twitter, I remember people were like talking about like how hot she is. Like it was kind of like a trend to kind of praise this woman's looks. And I mean, for her age, I guess perhaps, but it's like the plastic surgery gives it that like uncanny valley vibe.
I'm trying to think of other 50-year-old women. I mean, dude, Marissa fucking Tomei is over 50. Gotta be.
Who's that?
What's it in My Uncle Vinny? Fucking aunt.
Oh, the hot aunt. Yeah.
The new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know, Adam Sandler's love interest in anger management.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Dude, Marissa Tomei. I'm pretty sure she's over 50. I can't Google it. You got to Google it on your phone.
Tyra Banks is over 50. There are a lot of women that are over 50 that like that
look
way better than she does.
ScarJo over 50?
I don't know if ScarJo's 50. I think she might be in her 40s. But there are so many women in the entertainment industry or whatever public eye that like are older than her even and look better than she does. But she's sort of.
Yeah, bro. Marissa Tomei's 60.
Wow.
Suck it, Lauren, whatever your fucking name is, Bezos.
Wow. But yeah, that people say she's attractive for her age all the time. So I just don't think I think she's got like this, I don't know how to describe her face, but there's something really unsettling about it.
I think Danny just nailed it in the chat. She's got Mar-a-Lago face.
Yes. That's the face. It's that like weird Florida Republican.
I've been calling it.
Wife.
I've been calling it that like New Jersey. Like what was that show with all the ratchet fake tan plastic surgery
Real
people?
Housewives of New Jersey.
No, with Snooki and fucking the D or whatever his name was. Jersey Shore. To me, it's like Jersey Shore aesthetic that basically got adopted by people like Kim Kardashian, and they tried to make it classy. They tried to make getting all of this like.
She was a major guest at this wedding. It was gaudy. It wasn't even like good celebrities. It was, I don't know, fucking, what's the name of the fucking chick with the boobs from White Lotus?
Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, it was Sydney Sweeney. It was like Kim Kardashian. It was like.
It was just a celebrity party.
It was Oprah. But it was like celebrities that are widely disliked almost.
Yeah.
In that sense, it wasn't like people who are, widely appreciated now anyway. It's the types of celebrities that have been getting a lot of sort of scrutiny on them, which is why I thought it was hilarious that Leonardo DiCaprio showed up with like a baseball cap.
Oh yeah, I think you sent me one of those, didn't you?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Though. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I think it's one thing I find is really disturbing. She's sort of being pushed as this archetype of beauty, and it makes me worried that like the archetype of beauty is shifting towards this like more unnatural.
I'm just gonna play it because I've got to be honest. Like I've only had a really glance and look at this lady, and I really nothing about them strikes me as a couple other than the putridness.
But they kept trying to push this as like almost like a royal wedding. It was giving the same vibe as like the royal weddings that we have here in the UK.
Well, they were aping it in lots of ways because I think they were saying about like they'd got the same dress designer or something like that. There were some details around the wedding that was also Kate Middleton and Harry or Kate Middleton, William or whatever had the same things or something like that. And so they were really like aping that kind of shit. Yeah. And it's pretty... It was like pretty cringe.
It did have like a Mar-a-Lago vibe again. Like Ivanka Trump was there. It was like the Mar-a-Lago crowd plus like what would now be considered kind of old Hollywood celebrities, plus a sprinkling of new Hollywood, but like the gaudy kind of.
It was like nouveau.
Nouveau rich.
It is like nouveau rich. Royalty, I guess.
And
like
as
all
you can
these
see
people.
here, there was protests as well in Venice, obviously because like Venice is one of the places in Europe that's being devastated by climate change currently. And obviously Jeffy and Amazon contribute quite largely to that, and they weren't happy that this was going on in their city and all the sort of resources that were being, poured towards it, and also the fact that the people of Venice themselves are going through economic instability currently as well. It just seemed really in poor taste. But I also don't think it's an accident that they chose Venice for the location, because Venice has always been kind of a hub of the elite, especially like the kind of ceremonial kind of elite in that sense. In Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, the scene where the orgy is going on, they're wearing Venetian masks for a reason. Like Venice has always had that kind of reputation of being like a decadent power center. So I don't think it's an accident that symbolically it was held in Venice, the same way I don't think it's an accident that he kind of symbolically shot all those women up into space. That had a lot of symbology kind of surrounding it, but I think so did this. And I think you see it with like Mark Zuckerberg constantly wearing t-shirts with like Roman insignia on it. Like these people consider themselves that kind of imperial cult of yesteryear, but like brought back. And it's specifically the Trump administration and the tech elite that hearken to that kind of imagery. And yeah, I really don't think it's an accident that Venice was the location chose for the wedding. It seemed like a big ritual, in my opinion. Let's watch more. Let's have a look at what else. Did the volume get turned down?
I muted it.
Yeah.
The stars have arrived in Venice for Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's 3-day wedding extravaganza. On June 26th, Kim Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, Kris Jenner, Kylie Jenner, Kendall Jenner, and Corey Gamble were spotted leaving Gritty Palace Hotel to head to night one's festivities. At one point, the momager of the Kardashian family was seen snapping pictures of daughters Khloe and Kim aboard their water taxi. Plus, Leonardo DiCaprio was also photographed leaving the hotel alongside girlfriend Victoria Soretti, as was Oprah Winfrey, Gayle King, and Orlando Bloom. Meanwhile, the Amazon founder and his fiancée waved to paparazzi as they exited the Amman Hotel. The bride-to-be ditched white, opting for a gold Schiaparelli gown with hand-embroidered flowers, according to Vogue. Earlier Thursday, Tom Brady was also seen arriving to the Italian city, while Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, and their children were spotted there on Tuesday, as was Diane von Furstenberg.
Was like fucking Trump and the other billionaire boys not there? Just all the celebrity people?
Yeah, and obviously like because he had like a yacht party prior, which is the next video that we were going to show, like a foam party where he was like half naked with his wife and his stepson. And it just shows how these billionaires, like, they have no real friends. Like, no one who is there seems like is part of like their own intimate circle. It's just like celebrities.
Phone party with a bunch of 50 and 60-year-olds.
Yeah.
That does sound pretty tragic, man.
Yeah. Let's show the video.
We do move now to what could be the wedding of the year. Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez tying the knot in Venice, but not everyone is welcoming the happy couple. Maggie Rulli joins us with a story and an exclusive look at part of their wedding invitation. Maggie, good morning.
Hey, Whit, good morning. We're entering the final countdown for what promises to be one of the most expensive, most exclusive, highly secretive weddings of the entire year. And Whit, most details have been kept under wraps about the big day. Until now, we're getting a first look. They're the talk of the town. Jeff Bezos and fiancée Lauren Sanchez hosting a foam party aboard their 417-foot luxury super yacht ahead of their wedding festivities in Venice. Bezos, worth an estimated $231 billion, starting their party with friends in nearby Croatia, bouncing around beach balls and diving off their $500 million yacht. A source close to the couple telling ABC News that less than 200 of the couple's family and close friends will be traveling to Italy for the event. Wedding guests are reported to include Oprah, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Kim Kardashian.
God. I need to know the plastic surgery that's actually been done to Lauren Sanchez's face. Like, is it filler? is it facelit? Like, what is going on?
What,
Like,
so you can avoid it?
yeah, so I'm curious.
I should hope so, because you don't need any of that.
You're very sweet. But no, I'm just curious as to what has made a human being's face look like that. Like, what procedures have been done.
A lot of self-hate.
Yeah,
I think it's like there's always gonna be new procedures and science and all sorts of fucking bullshit that they'll be able to sell poor people that have like terrible self-image to morph themselves to be barely human.
But the thing is, at least the Venetian nobility had like taste, and they knew how to like show off opulence and like have a party. Our nobility is like ultra cringe. And also like, Leo hiding his face, because obviously he's been majorly vocal about climate change and that sort of thing. So, a lot of people obviously pointed out the hypocrisy of him being an attendant. And I just think it's funny how the elite of the past never tried to pretend as if they cared about the world or any of that stuff. And now you have like, our current elite who have to like kind of weirdly,
morally ape.
Yeah. But in a way, I feel like that's flexing on us even more. Like putting that kind of contradiction out in our face is kind of flexing on us even more, in my opinion. But yeah, it was all just like, it was all, again, weird public ritual, uncanny valley vibe I got from the Katy Perry's space launch.
I'm kind of like, I don't know, they probably did like a real wedding. Do you know what I mean? They probably did like a real actual ceremony and like a small thing with like family and stuff.
I doubt it.
You don't think so? You think that's all, all you get, folks?
Yeah.
There is no like other like intimate on this island that he owns in the chapel that's on his island that he owns.
I'm pretty sure that all of the even if he did, I'm pretty sure that all of the people in attendance were also celebrities and people who aren't necessarily his friends or family or anything like that.
Well, when you're a fucking demon, that's the kind of life you and company you end up having to keep, I guess, isn't it?
I was surprised that there weren't more tech Silicon Valley people in attendance, but then again, they're all rivals.
Yeah, and he's also not really like... He's not really a tech person. He's not like Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg.
In terms of owning a major platform that is used, that's a major e-commerce site. He's also has a space. He has his own space program.
Yeah.
People like Elon Musk.
People don't respect Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
And rightly so.
Because he sells cheap plastic.
Because he's like a business person. He's not even Steve Jobs wasn't like a technical person, but because he was like a business design kind of visionary and knew how to kind of structure everything in such a way, that kind of garners an amount of respect, in my opinion.
But he didn't have a royal wedding. That's what I'm saying. This is like a new phenomenon where these sorts of billionaires think they have the right to take the mandate of.
Mark Zuckerberg didn't have a royal wedding.
He basically fucking made a Greek statue of his wife.
Who, Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, and he goes around wearing like Roman insignia T-shirts. Like they're all kind of trying to harken back to these sorts of imperial cults. Whereas in the past, these sorts of billionaires were more in the shadows and they weren't trying to publicly act like rulers.
I think Jeff Bezos has no claim to any kind of level of credibility other than just having like a demon mode level like business idea of basically taking losses for over a decade and just sustaining himself on private finance to eventually take over the market and then start making money. That is like not a business model that was really put in practice,
but that's most
as to my knowledge before that.
That's most of the business models that these like
that's what spawned that absolutely
millionaires have like become
Uber and lots of them absolutely
rich off of those sorts of like unstable and precarious
business
models.
That's what he's an innovator of. That's why he has no respect. That's why he has to like have a fucking crazy nouveau rich gaudy shit wedding.
I don't think it matters though. I think the reason why they're doing these sorts of royal wedding processions is because like we are in the age of techno-feudalism, right? And these are our feudal lords. And I think the reason why they're flexing and doing all of this imperial cult stuff and like getting married in places like Venice that are known to be like hubs of decadent nobility is because that's how they view themselves. They view themselves as the new imperial elite, and they're sort of trying to build up the imagery and mythology around their imperial cult.
What's that thing, isn't it? Like, if a $500 million yacht exists, it would be a shame for it to not be used.
For a foam party with your mom.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying for that.
Mom and, like, her rock hard silicone tits.
I'm not saying to use it for that, but
Well,
it's also like what yeah, but what is it for? That's kind of the point, right? Like, what is a $500 million yacht for? Like, what is the purpose
Foam
of that?
parties.
Like
50-year-old silicone tits. That's what it's for.
I don't know. It's like that kind of, I don't know. It's that level of kind of shit that just kind of baffles me. Like, you've got like a whole cruise ship to yourself, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
But why would you want that?
I don't know. Billionaires are weird people.
I mean, I haven't been
Very
on a
strange.
cruise, and I do hear very mixed things about cruises, but
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, at least some of the niceness of it is that you are with some people, and that you're all kind of partying on this crazy ship, like, you know, in the middle of the
It's a
ocean.
novel experience.
I think being on a ship that size on your own, or just with your wife and her rock hard tits, is like strange.
I agree.
It would creep me out. It
I
would
would
give
be
me like
really-
The Shining vibes.
Yeah, seriously,
but even
yeah.
worse than The
I would
Shining,
have thalassophobia.
because you're like in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And because of the implication, right? it's just not great.
It's not great, no. But even then, like I said, they're trying to ape, like, you know, sort of royal behavior, you know, and they are in that sense. Like, what was it, the Angies Varoufakis book about neo-feudalism being the new evolution of capitalism? That's precisely what we're seeing happening under our noses. These people think of themselves as monarchs.
Do you think that if, like, I can't know, this is like telling my shoddy history, I'm assuming it's in like the early 20th century when the Titanic sank, right? Like, if I don't know what the Titanic would cost, and it's probably more than 500 million or however much, or $500 million or whatever it was. But you're talking a ship that's within, like, not, you know, that kind of scale, but still, like, you know, why the fuck not, sort of thing, right? Like, and all the people that went on the Titanic were certainly like the high elite of,
Not all of them.
not all of them, but a good chunk of the
Yeah.
people on the Titanic were that high elite. Was it just that, like, to have a boat that would be big enough and kind of stable enough would have just been too much at that time? Or is it the culture of, like, pure kind of individualism now that, like, makes even someone want to have a $500 million yacht? Or is he just using it with friends all the time? Or has he got no friends and that's why he's inviting all these celebrities to his fucking wedding?
Well,
That's kind of
that's
what I'm trying to,
why.
like, if I had a shitload of friends and I could host a festival all year round on a boat, that yacht sounds like an amazing investment. If it's just me and you, I'm gonna start doing some Jack Nicholson shit. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, God.
it's not good.
Oh, God.
You're gonna start doing the Jack Nicholson shit
scared.
because you're the writer.
Yeah, I'm the
So
writer,
you're gonna be,
so yeah.
you're gonna
the
be-
Wendy. for
yeah,
fuck's
and
sake.
I'm gonna be bringing you sandwiches, and you're gonna be
Get
shouting at me.
Yeah,
you know.
that's our, like, life already. I'm joking. Well, we were considering a boat for our wedding. Now you're making me feel bad about it.
Not a
like
boat.
yacht,
Not a
but, like-
boat. We're
Yeah,
not
it was
considering a
what's
boat.
it called? The colonization boat in London that you wanted to
The Cutty
choose.
Sark.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to tell everyone the history of the boat that you were going to choose for our wedding?
I thought it was a different boat. It
It was
but
legitimately like a
even-
colonizer boat. And
even-
he was like, "Oh, this looks cool," and I was like, "Dude, no, we're
Even-
not having an interracial wedding on a fucking colonizer boat."
Aren't we the racially insensitive interracial couple?
Not to that
Isn't-
level, dude.
Isn't that
My
like the
family's gonna be there, dude. Like,
ongoing
no.
bit that we've got?
No. We can't have our wedding be a bit.
He wasn't a colonizer, he was an explorer.
Oh my god. Let's move on. Silly man. But yeah, that's the thing is I was watching the Lauren Sanchez's, and I'm planning a wedding at the same time, and I was like, this is just like not the vibe, man. It's just like the complete opposite
It's very
vibe
creepy.
of what a wedding should be. That's not just like a performance.
I
And
do
it
want-
is it's a ritual procession, really, of them trying to kind of subliminally
But even-
state that there are new monarchs.
Okay, but so even to use the Titanic example again, even if you weren't in the first class of Titanic and you were in the worst rank in the Titanic, you would totally be like wondering what they ate.
Yeah.
At that wedding, it looks so
Sterile.
gaudy and bad. I wouldn't be surprised if they got fucking like Krispy Kremes or some shit. Do you know what I mean?
Like Mar-a-Lago style.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like the
McDonald's.
like and so the whole like I don't know. It's not like to be aspirational because people, I guess some people see this lot as aspirational, which is what also kind of terrifies me. Right, is the portion of like normal, quote unquote, normal people
But there's
that see people like this.
Been a whole lot of backlash, which is the thing, specifically because most of the celebrities that he got are ones that are not largely in favor with the public currently. Ones who attract a lot of hate. You know,
I wasn't Kanye West there.
That would have been hilarious if Kanye was like the headliner or whatever. He could go on like a run.
Do we take it from Jeffy's social circle that he's probably a Democrat, or that
I don't know.
he's
I think he's,
like
I think he's a lot more pragmatic than Elon, of course, in terms of playing both sides. Whereas Elon went all in with Trump and then was like, "Oh, fuck you!"
out of the list of all of those people, and you just said that they're kind of controversial in that people don't like them. People know that they're shitheads and that they don't deserve their position and that they're like horrible people. Probably people like Ellen and people like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
Right. Great examples.
And Oprah. And,
yeah.
you know,
right. Great examples.
People embroiled in a lot of
but they're not
public controversy.
It's not like I don't know, even someone fucking tame, like what's his name? That's Guardians of the Galaxy, fucking Jurassic Park man. Chris something.
Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Chris. One of the white Chris's. Chris Pratt. He was controversial for a second because he was associated with some like super fucking evangelical Christian sect and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's probably not, or it's been fairly identified, he's not like a liberal and stuff like that. You know, actors within Hollywood that aren't like that or whatever. There's none of those at his fucking wedding. It's like all like liberal elite.
Yeah.
It's nobody controversial
in that sense.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not like Piers Morgan's there.
No.
Or like fucking, you know what I mean?
But it's the same thing with his whole Katy Perry and space thing. He was sort of trying to hearken to the idea that it was like this feminist, like powerful thing. So I think perhaps he's one of the tech billionaires / Silicon Valley people that's like attempting to kind of court the more liberal side more explicitly in that sense. Whereas some of the other ones are you know, more involved in the Trump administration.
But it's so weird because it's like pure, it just kind of shows it as the pure facade. And his, I guess like even his taste and choice in women kind of also shows that,
yeah,
right?
he likes facade.
Like
fakery.
it's like what were liberal ideals really around? Like, was it really just around kind of the identity politics and sort of trying to morally posture
it's all
and
about
stuff?
symbolism, right? It's all about symbolism, and it's all about you know, symbolic gestures that kind of appease certain social justice grievances. And the corporate elite have always been, you know, experts at fulfilling that.
Kind of thought it was in pursuit more of an egalitarian democracy.
No.
Right? Like in its ideal.
No.
In its ideal,
it's never
right?
been about that. But even then, I think it's interesting, like that you bring up that he's one of the more sort of Democrat sort of adjacent tech billionaires. But either way, it doesn't matter. They all have their bases covered, and their overall agenda again is to entrench themselves as the new kind of imperial monarchic power. And they already are in many ways.
Do you think that would be Elon's wedding? Would be like Kid Rock and John Daly?
His
and
would be more like a sultan's wedding where he marries like 100 women at once.
Oh my
or
God.
whatever, and has like a harem or whatever. But that's the thing is, it makes me think sci-fi thoughts. It makes me think of like 1,000 years in the future, what tech billionaires' weddings will look like. I think they'll be similar to the royal processions of yesteryear. And being someone from England, where we're used to having this sort of pomp and spectacle surrounding our royal family, seeing that kind of egregore migrate to another elite sector of society is quite disturbing as far as I'm concerned.
It's disappointing.
Yeah. It doesn't disappoint me because people. That's the thing is, Americans especially are like, oh, we're capitalists and we'll never have feudalism. We fought that. We got away from feudalism. No, dude, you just sort of, it's just constellated in a different fashion now. And one of the things that, you know, my American friends would often make fun of me about was like, oh, British people are like feudal peasants. Like, you're all buck broken fucking. I'm like, you're a buck broken. You're just as buck broken. You're feudal peasants too now. Welcome to the club.
But that kind of, I don't know. There was a lot of conversations this week in the British media about kind of billionaires and stuff. Not even just from Jeff Bezos's wedding. Maybe that kind of sparked the topic off for some politicians or whatever, but the kind of idea of a wealth tax and all these kinds of things have been kind of being talked about. And maybe also Jeremy Corbyn's new party and all these sorts of things are all kind of things that people now are kind of like starting to talk about again. But
it's a bit it's too little too late, dude. The fucking the new feudal elite are here and they're already flexing at us, and that everyone's only just sort of being like starting to wake up to the billionaires. Like,
but you also sort of like hear just people phone in and defend billionaires.
Well, yeah,
when they make when they're
the Queen.
when they're like, you know, make
same way people
30K at Tesco, and you're just like, dude, the wealth tax is to benefit people like you and make society more fair for everyone.
It's the same way
right?
people defend the crown even to this day in our country. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a majority position here in terms of like defense and sort of adherence to that value. And like, it's the same thing with these tech billionaires. People will, and not even just tech billionaires in general. People will defend them. People will kind of, you know, aspire to be them. And that's the reason why they have these big public rituals and and processions and bring out the gaudy plastic surgery, like, you know, women or whatever. That's like their way of attempting to do what, you know, royal families around Europe have done for centuries, which is court the public using soft power, using opulence as like a tool to make yourself aspirational, all of those things.
Well, it's not worked on me, and I bet your wedding dinner was shit because you've got horrible taste.
Yeah, I bet the whole thing was shit, in all honesty. It doesn't look like it would have been a fun... It looked like a photo op.
Yeah, it was gross.
It didn't look like a celebration of love at all. It looked like some kind of dark, weird ritual.
It's complete spectacle nonsense.
But anywho, moving on to our next topic for the evening, another weird elite eyes wide shut style thing has occurred in the Trump administration, where they've basically declared the Epstein case closed. The Epstein case is now officially closed. Nothing to see here, pals. Here's a video of a journalist confronting Trump about it recently.
Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of his death?
Yeah, sure.
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration.
Wow. It's like, how can you talk about Epstein when we're winning so hard, guys? We're winning so hard. Wow.
So
wow.
It's pretty crazy. And
Ooh.
I did hear or read, I can't remember where from, an explanation for the minute missing. And apparently the minute missing is missing from every single video recorded on that system because of the system that it is, and that it was installed in like the mid 80s or the mid 90s. It's kind of like an old system, and it's very antiquated. And yeah, there's a minute every evening that is just
missing.
never able to be recorded because of the change around or whatever. I can't remember the exact excuse they gave or whatever it was, but it was to do with the specific video system they have implemented in that jail.
Well, not even just that. Like, there's been people within the Trump administration that claim to have seen, I think the DOJ lady even, they claimed to have seen the footage of child abuse and lists of prospective clients, and then all of a sudden, nothing to see here, guys.
Oh, so
Stop talking about it. We're winning.
Her excuse for that misstep of phrase, or however she wants to kind of rationalize it, was that all those videos that she'd recovered, none of them had Jeffrey Epstein in them. It was just child porn that he owned. So she's obviously not gonna release that.
Wow.
And all the rumors that it contained, not just Jeffrey Epstein, but probably most likely like people that were obviously engaged in whatever fucking debauchery he was doing.
And Elon Musk
are going to be on there.
When he was beefing with Trump a few weeks ago, basically said in no kind of vague terms that Trump is part of the list.
And Steve Bannon.
Yeah, and Steve Bannon as well. And this has also caused a bunch of infighting in the Republican kind of MAGA base. And we have a video here of Alex Jones crying and throwing up and sliding down the wall.
I don't know how they got Trump and the DOJ to do this, because the public is not buying it. No one is buying it. So I never saw any evidence of Trump involved in any of the stuff that came out. It was all fake. The fake Jane Does, all the crap, Eugene Carroll, the crazy leftist cat lady, all of it. So now, by coming in and being part of the cover-up, the Trump administration has become part of it. I mean, it's just you cannot see it any other way. So I just got to the office. So I'm going to go throw up, actually. And this only happens every few years when something really, really bad happens or something. I mean, I'm physically going to puke probably right now. My mouth is watering right now. Because I have integrity. And
oh my God.
I just really need the Trump administration to succeed and to save this country. And they're doing so much good. And then for them to do something like this tears my guts out. And, the left, they're all complicit. They're openly promoting pedophilia. We know they're pure evil. And they'll think it's all funny. Oh, look, Alex is sad. The MAGA's tearing itself apart.
God. Shadow projection to the core.
Your globalist masters literally want you to eat bugs and live in a 5G, 200 square foot coffin apartment. Look at the left. Look at them all posing with their Pfizer shots looking like dead zombies. Come on. You guys are sick. And so you shouldn't look at those of us that have a soul still and have integrity.
You've got integrity.
In pain over this and celebrate.
Okay, just stop. Okay, I was waiting for this moment to happen, and I'm very happy it finally has. I'm enjoying the shot.
Oh my God.
A little bit too much, but basically because obviously like I said, it's shadow projection. He immediately pivots to being like the left are the bad guys, blah blah blah, and the left does the same thing to the right. Shadow projection. But the thing is, he was all like, I hate the Antichrist when it was fucking Klaus Schwab. But now that it's like Peter Thiel, he's said nothing. He's said nothing about the Epstein stuff and has been quiet about it it's because he's fallen prey to the dialectic of left versus right. And now he's crying and throwing up. This is what falling prey to that dumbass dialectic does to you. It makes you an uncritical thinker. You're not able to think critically because you're too busy being tribal. And that's what so many people on the left do, but also on the right, way so much so with the whole Trump administration and being sort of these unquestioning sycophants. And especially because so many of the things that they rail against, whether it be like elite corruption, the overreach of big tech, so much of that is now major fixtures of the Trump administration. And they've been silent for so long. But now that the contradiction has come to a head with Trump blatantly being shady about this, now he's like crying and throwing up.
It kind of reminds me of like how Cartman would react. in real life.
He's like a big Eric Cartman.
You know what I mean? If he had sort of like been hyping this thing up and then it had been found to be completely like bullshit.
Well, all his credibility as a conspiracy guy, his like
it went out the window when he started backing Trump anyway.
This is like the final nail in the coffin as far as like most of his kind of constituency is probably concerned. And he's not been my favorite schizo for a long time. David Icke replaced him a long time ago in terms of who's my favorite schizo. But yeah, all his schizo credibility is definitely like gone. It'll never be the same again.
It won't be the same again. And you know, I think I don't know, man. It's like I think the thought I had when he was saying about it, I can't believe he's done this. You know,
the meme
was just sort of like, yeah, buddy, but also like, so your base isn't even schizos anymore anyway. It's all the Trump MAGA people.
Yeah.
And do you know what?
Lost all the schizos.
And do you know what else that they couldn't fucking believe? That they will basically get fucking Elon into the White House and form a whole part of government to like make efficiency and try to like carve out a good chunk of the deficit for him to only go and pass a bill to like insanely increase it. Like, I think he's basically making a load of moves right now that people would go, oh, he'd never do that. He'd never go to war with Iran. He'd never go to war with Iran. He's an anti-war president.
Yeah.
He'd never do that. He would never pass a bill that's going to like exponentially increase the debt by trillions which he's the anti-debt guy, right?
Boom.
He would never like fucking block the Epstein or fucking do some real like CIA level shit with all the Epstein evidence because he's not involved and he's like trying to be transparent and get rid of the deep state, right?
Yeah.
Well, all of those things, I don't know how many strikes like someone needs before like the cognitive dissonance has like really hit you. But this is what happens
because they all fell prey to the left-right dialectic.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you've reached that many strikes. Then you just go, I can't take this anymore. Like I have to.
Everybody has to take responsibility for being tribal, and for allowing their tribalism to blind them to the reality of what's going on. And right now there are so many major threats, not just the threat of like this sort of psychopathic elite that's been getting away with dirt for ages, but the threat of like, you know, this sort of Silicon Valley psychopaths who are attempting to sort of entrench a monstrous technocratic system. These are all things that we should be uniting on across the fucking political spectrum in order to stave off this horror that awaits us on the horizon. But instead you have people like Alex Jones who will be like, I hate the Antichrist when it's Klaus Schwab or Hillary Clinton or whatever else. But when it's Peter Thiel and like fucking Jeffrey Epstein or whatever, they're fucking quiet. You know, don't say a damn thing because they don't want their political constituency, their like fake big tent politics to fall apart. And it is already. The
one thing I will say about Alex Jones, just to come to his defense in some way. Okay. Just to come to his defense in some way.
You've watched him for years, and that he's been your like fun conspiracy.
No.
guy.
I'm just gonna rationalize. I'm gonna rationalize to you his expression of "I have integrity." That's why. That's why I'm gonna throw up. Okay. Is that Pam Bondi and this fella, I can't remember what his name is, that's the head of the FBI now, that's been talking about, that went on Joe Rogan, was like, oh, you think, bro, that if I had a video of someone doing something to little kids that I would let it go? No, man, I'm like a fucking, like, who the fuck is this guy? And also, why do you think that anyone would implicitly trust you? Like, he was kind of on news rounds beforehand, being really fiery about the Epstein case, and so was Pam Bondi before they were like part of the machinery. And then I think they literally have just done.
That's his name. Thank you very much.
I think they've done like a classic fucking maneuver, and just, you know, a classic they've fallen prey to a classic blunder here.
Well, it's the same thing.
And they've been subsumed into the machinery, and they have taken whatever deal it is. For their position, for whatever promises later down the line,
and
whatever thing it could be,
the Trump administration,
and
proximity to power,
and they have done that.
Yeah.
Alex Jones, no matter how much he's rallied, no matter how much all of those things, he's done that out of what you could charitably say is the belief in his heart that what
fact that he's
of the
fallen
vision he
prey
had
to
for
the
it.
dialectic.
What
The reason that he says everyone else is a fraud and a phony and not an intellectual. I'm here to say that he's a fucking fraud because
Let me
he
finish.
fell prey to the left-right dialectic.
He
became
did.
tribal, shut off his critical faculties. He's the guy that talks about conspiracies and evil in high places and dark power and how dark power operates. But as soon as it became political and tribal, he shut off his fucking brain.
Let me finish. I'm sure that Alex would have been offered some kind of position, or maybe not. Maybe he's just too much of a loose cannon. They couldn't have like really approached that bridge and gone to it with Alex. And Kash Patel's obviously very different than Alex Jones or whatever. I get that, but I think that like he wouldn't take a fucking deal, and that's what he's saying. In that I have integrity, that's why I'm going to be sick.
Bullshit.
No matter if he believed it, he supported Trump because he fucking believed it, and he had a conviction about that. But there's no shady bullshit fucking whatever that he's taken that has like exposed him as like someone that has to cover up for fucking stuff that he's gone. There's something fishy.
I doubt
here.
that very much. He's not a dumb guy, and he also knows the contradictions, especially when it comes to number one, Silicon Valley is another major note of this. The Israel-Palestine contradiction is another note of this, and also the Epstein stuff. And that's the reason why I said that David Icke has become my new favorite schizo, because he's been consistent on those three things.
He's a bit too consistently anti-Semitic for me to call him my favorite schizo guy, but fair enough.
How is he anti-Semitic? Is he anti-Semitic?
Yeah,
How?
You should definitely look at some...
I'm
more
not
of his
talking about
videos
that aspect
where
of
he's
it.
not just talking to African witch guys, but like, yeah, he's definitely, when he gets on about it, dude, it's not good.
Well, yeah, I don't know that aspect. I'm just talking about in the schizo sphere in general, and kind of the sort of non-rationalist kind of parapolitics sphere. He's the one that's been the most consistent on those three things. Whereas Alex Jones, in order to maintain his proximity to the Trump administration, and also not to piss off his kind of, MAGA constituency, has kind of largely remained silent on things that were huge for him not too long ago, in that sense. So, yeah, I think he's lost credibility, and not just that, the sort of MAGA infighting that's happening surrounding this just shows how much credibility they lost.
But I think Alex is also like, I don't know, Alex is probably also like a Christian Zionist, man.
Yeah, that might be.
So
he was friends with David Koresh of the Branch Davidian cult, and the Branch Davidians. That was all surrounding sort of this dominionism, Christian Zionism,
or even just when he gets on one, he's spitting pure Pentecostal, evangelical, like deep law when he goes on one, and so like I don't doubt for a minute that like he's a very convicted Christian, like he was a convicted Trump believer or whatever. So there's no doubt in my mind that like he is probably convicted about the end goal of a lot of those religions as well.
Yeah.
You know?
But even then, I think, probably it has something to do with Christian Zionism, which is the reason why he's suspending his criticisms around certain things. But also, I think he was just like fully on the Trump train. I think he had convinced himself that the quote unquote antichrist forces were only coming from the left, basically, and that by allying himself with Trump, who is also the antichrist forces are also in Trump's side massively or whatever. And I think him falling prey to the dialectic is what ended up being his undoing.
Danny, there's not a lot really uniting MAGA, but like anti-woke grievance politics. That's not true. So like Christian Zionism is exactly what fucking unites a lot of the MAGA right, because they're Bible bashing, crazy fucking Pentecostal freaks. So like they have a deep religious conviction that unites them. It's way more than just like culture war. Unfortunately, it would be so good if it was just culture war and like stupid fucking nonsense, but it's not.
It's
the reason that the reason they put all that bandage on their ear and all of the crazy shit they were doing all leading up to the election is because they have deep religious conviction that
it's an imperial cult.
Trump will accelerate or further the Zionist agenda, basically.
Which will lead to the coming of Christ. Like, they basically have deified. It's an imperial cult. We've been doing this shit since fucking ancient Babylon, deifying political leaders. And when you do that, you suspend your ability to criticize them, to think critically about them. You become a fucking sycophant for them. And that's what became not just Alex Jones' undoing, but so many on the MAGA right who have like betrayed their principles surrounding things like free speech, surrounding things like, you know, wickedness in high places and wanting to expose that. They all got sucked into the dialectic, which is used by the elite as a way of hoodwinking us. I've been saying this for years. People have been screaming at me, calling me wishy-washy, centrist, whatever, fucking blah, blah, blah for years. No, I'm just a critical thinker, and I refuse to let tribalism and deifying fucking politicians like we're primitive fucking Bronze Age people. It's really frightening stuff. Like, it's really frightening stuff. And it's interesting to see how these sort of primitive kind of configurations are constellating themselves in the collective psyche in this so-called technological modern era. First, you see it with the tech elite and their like royal processions through Venice. Now you see it with like the imperial cult that surrounds Trump, where people are crying and vomiting and throwing up because he's made a decree pardoning one of his perverted fucking, you know, cronies. This is the era we're in. We're in like some like the decadent last stages of Rome, basically.
So we've got one set of billionaires thinking he's the fucking Great Gatsby, having like a cringe early 2000s disco on his fucking oversized millionaire yacht. And we've got another one using his own...
What did Danny say? Hang on.
True, I saw a post where a MAGA guy was like, even if he raped my daughter, I'd still vote for him because to forgive is the Christian thing to do, and it's so insanely cucked.
Wow. Yeah, that just goes to show you.
Absolutely. And then, we've now got billionaires that want to take on basically just the pure villain arc and be, like, just, I don't know, be out in the open about it, I guess. Like... I've had it open on the Gemini the entire time on the web page sharing thing. I didn't even realize it was there the entire time. So maybe some of you have been seeing. But like, yeah, dude, Peter Thiel has this little habit recently of naming all
Not
of
recently, just like forever.
For a while. Well, I don't know, because like PayPal and those other ones aren't obviously like Lord of the Rings.
People involved in that,
but when it's a Thiel-only venture, then it's just like full mask off. Yeah, I am fucking Sauron, bro. And it's just like, okay, like why?
Does he shave his fucking eyebrows? I need to know why he shaves his fucking eyebrows. Like,
I think
it's so fucking creepy.
It's probably some sort of dodgy affect from either like the blood boys he has, or some sort of like rich medical procedure to look youthful and sprightly in his like.
Youthful and sprightly.
Because he's like in his 50s or 60s or whatever, and as well, right? He's got to be in his 50s
yeah,
minimum.
Probably, yeah.
If he's younger than Marissa Tomei, like, dude, people got to start taking lessons from that woman.
Marissa Tomei just looks really good. I aspire one day.
But he has this new bank. He has a new bank that he wants to that he's starting with Palmer Luckey, which again, a great villain name. Like that is straight out of Cyberpunk.
Or like Philip K. Dick or something.
Yeah, I mean he's the guy that owns another military tech company called Arduel or something like that, which is another Lord of the Rings reference. It's the sword that the bad guys use or whatever.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What? Wait. So he's made another company called what?
Palmer Luckey's company is called let me get it up on the other fucking tab. Hang on.
That's part of. I'm a big nerd for Lord of the Rings, and I'm like big on the lore, but I don't know the name of that sword.
Company.
Arduel.
Arduel. An Arduel. Anduril, sorry.
Anduril. So who uses Anduril as their sword? Because I'm gonna talk about the occult stuff in a minute, but let's have a look.
Anduril, the one wiki to rule them all. It's sort of Flame of the West.
Oh, so it's not a bad
Shards
guy.
of Nissanthiel. Sword of Aragon. There you go.
It's
not a bad sword.
it's not a bad sword.
But it's still I don't know. Okay, that's like a less kind of bad one, I guess. But naming like your shit Palantir, and then naming this other one like Erebor, which I think is like a location in Lord of the Rings where Smaug like keeps all of the gold.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is that I think the reason why he has this like weird obsession with Lord of the Rings is because there's a lot inside of Tolkien's legendarium that actually corresponds to real occult stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, like Lord of the Rings is a direct reference to Saturn. And, you know, you have Sauron, Morgoth even, who's like the big bad, is really this sort of demiurgic, archonic, malefic Saturnian, you know, figure. And all of his aims are about technological dominance of Middle-earth and sort of a subjugation of the natural world and, you know, that sort of thing. So you have that theme of the sort of Saturnian demiurge manifesting as a sort of antichrist figure in Middle-earth. And you have a similar kind of configuration happening now. And I mean, Tolkien, despite being a devout Catholic, was sort of a Christian mystic in a lot of ways. I don't know whether he was conscious of the fact that he was veering into Christian mysticism or if he was just kind of a guilty Catholic that kind of had a lot of kind of anamnesis and a bunch of unconscious material kind of presented itself in his work. But either way, there's a lot that corresponds to within Tolkien's legendarium to like a lot of what's happening in real life on an occult level and to real life occult concepts. And I think Peter Thiel is aware of that, which is the reason why he called his fucking digital surveillance system Palantir, and probably also why he's trying to appropriate some of the more positive symbols from Middle Earth as well and pervert them.
But that wasn't him, that was Palmer Luckey.
Who's Palmer Luckey?
Palmer Luckey is
sounds like some Philip K. Dick character.
That's what I'm saying, dude. He sounds like a fucking cyberpunk villain straight up, but he is like the CEO of the Underhill company that like have AI drone technology to like zip and like fucking blow up someone's head.
It's not just him. There's a lot of
it's fucking insane.
There's a lot of tech nerds in Silicon Valley that are Lord of the Rings fans, and the ones who are like occult adepts or have some form of cosmology that they are interested in tend to pay homage to or like wink and nod to that in certain ways. And like there's the obvious kind of parallel with Palantir, but I think everybody should read Lord of the Rings again because it's really relevant to like a lot of what's going on in the world now.
But he also
he
also hosted this thing in Texas called Hereticon, right?
Oh, yeah,
and had like all of these, you know, and there was some interesting like talks there with Diana Pasulka and what are you doing?
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, you did. You're touching buttons.
Sorry.
Oh my God! Stop touching buttons in the middle of the stream.
My bad. What were you saying, Diana Pasulka?
Yeah, he did this thing with he did this thing called Hereticon where like it was basically people posing subversive ideas around whatever controversial topics and stuff.
But
and
that's
so
his whole shtick is he likes to sort of you know, make himself seem as if he's this like benevolent sort of patron to like intellectual salons or whatever. And the thing is, there are quite a few, like I really admire the work that Dr. Diana Pasulka has done on like ufology research and also kind of challenging the strictly kind of material paradigm that surrounds ufology in that sense. But again, her connection to Peter Thiel makes me way more suspicious of her. Anybody who has anything to do with him, I'm suspicious of.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, even the whole imagery of Hereticon was all Antichrist, like, you know, devil imagery. Yeah. And he likes to associate the names of all of his companies with like the bad people in Lord of the Rings, in like the modern fairy tales and stuff, right? Like, why do you think? Like, I've asked Gemini this, so we'll see what Gemini says in a second. That's why it's been on the side the whole time. But why do you think he's trying to kind of cultivate this villain brand as someone that is so powerful and kind of like a billionaire? Because it feels like Jeff Bezos. Let me finish, because I think part of the reason Jeff Bezos does the whole moral liberal, look at all my good liberal friends, is be like, yeah, I'm a billionaire, but look, I'm still a nice guy or whatever the fuck, right? I'm still someone that believes in good things. He's just like, fuck it, dude. I'm a billionaire and I actually identify as Sauron.
Yeah, like... that's what I'm saying. The Antichrist configuration. It's a configuration within the collective psyche, and and it covers all bases. Like the problem of evil wears many faces, and the Antichrist can wear the face of the religious establishment as well as the technological establishment. It can wear the face of the Democrats and the Republicans. It can wear the face of anything. And that's the reason why you have to be aware of not falling into tribalism, not falling into ideological possession. And I think the reason what we're seeing happen with Peter Thiel is full-on archetypal possession. If we're talking about it from a Jungian perspective, that is somebody that has been possessed by an archetype in the collective unconscious. His ego is no longer like the locus of control. Something else is taken over. And I think that his constant hearkening to this sort of darker imagery in Middle Earth is evident of that, because the story Tolkien was telling was like an aeonic story. It was a story about a war at the end of time, basically. A war for the fate of Middle Earth. And we're in similar times now where we're seeing technological acceleration, war, environmental disasters, so many different existential threats that are facing us. And for a tech billionaire to be like, yeah, I'm the bad guy in that narrative, I think it says a lot. And I think it's not something we should trivialize. It's something that we should pay attention to. Because personally, as like a Jungian, I believe that the psyche is real. I don't think that there's much separation between the psyche and matter. So when people make these sorts of references, I don't think it's something that should be taken lightly. But let's see what Gemini has to say about it.
Let's see what Gemini says.
Yeah.
So, Peter Thiel is known to be a significant fan of J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, having reportedly read the books over 10 times. This fascination is reflected in the names he chooses for his companies or companies he is heavily involved with. While some of the names might not be immediately sound like bad guys, they often carry significant or powerful connotations with Tolkien's lore, sometimes even having ambiguous or morally complex associations. I think that's pretty charitable, bro, if I'm honest. It's pretty charitable, Gemini, but you are known for glazing, so we'll allow it.
Does be glazing.
Palantir Technologies, named after the Palantir. Palantiri, is it?
Yeah, Palantiri. That's
Palantiri.
the plural. That's the plural of because there's the one Palantir and then there's a Palantiri because like
there's a couple of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the Seeing Stones in Lord of the Rings. These crystal balls allowed users to see the distant events or communicate across vast distances, while seemingly neutral tools. Their use often led to corruption or manipulation, particularly when one fell into Sauron's hands. Well, that's the only one that you see in the story, isn't it? So that's kind of like the one he's going to be inspired by, isn't it? So, yeah. The company focuses on data analytics and surveillance, making the name rather
but it's not just
pointed choice. But that's kind of the point, right? Like, it's not like you're calling it the Avengers or something like that represents something kind of like with like, you know, we are fighting for humanity. We are fighting for the good. We are fighting to stop the bad guys.
No.
You are naming it after the thing that is trying to fucking kill the hobbits, dude. Like, what are you talking about?
Google had the statement, "Don't be evil," and then they took it away. I don't think these people necessarily care about like whether their branding terrifies us or not. Secondly, he's not the only one that makes reference in this sort of weird circle. This weird neo-reactionary technological accelerationist circle that makes reference to Lord of the Rings. Curtis Yarvin, in his essays, also famously kind of refers to himself and his ilk within this sort of elite circle as the elves of Middle Earth. They sort of, compare themselves to the elves.
But the elves were the opposite of that.
Well, yeah, the elves were fighting Sauron, but in their mind, because they think the elves are like aristocratic and sort of like highborn and above the fray of Middle Earth or whatever. They think that that's them. Whereas the elves are actually like highly evolved spiritual creatures who don't bypass their spiritual development using technology. There's like absolutely nothing that these people have in common with elves. They're like, they have more in common with like Sauron's fucking army and cohorts in that sense. So yeah, it's a very elaborate troll. But yeah, they do see them. They misread Tolkien's work. They see it as like this sort of romanticization of European kind of archetypes of greatness and heroism and masculinity and stuff. It's all a very kind of surface reading of Tolkien's work. Whereas not only was Tolkien's work deeply mystical, in ways that actually correspond to actual mystical ideas, it was also incredibly critical of technological overreach. All the things that they represent in the world are things that Tolkien was incredibly critical of. But I don't even know if they care. I think they know, but they probably don't care, because you would have to be pretty stupid not to.
I think it's just like it's just like they're really into the 40k universe. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, the Chaos Marines and all these guys are like actual fucking like demons basically, and have a horrible fascist ideology about spreading empire across space and like all of this stuff. But the world's just so fucking cool and so interesting, and the art's so dope. So you just end up reading so much about it, and you read the lore, and you're just fascinated by it. Yeah. And I feel like he basically looks at Lord of the Rings in that same way, where he sees none of the message around it, none of the kind of person who wrote it through that book, or any of it, and just kind of sees it completely as set dressing, and goes, bang, I like that. That's fucking dope.
Well, the reason I bring up Gnosticism is because in Tolkien's Legendarium, Morgoth is an aspect of the Godhead that mistakes itself for the totality. So it kind of becomes malefic in its disconnection from the rest of the Godhead. And Morgoth begins to influence different figures like Sauron and those who Sauron are influenced by, to kind of destroy Arda, to destroy Middle-earth, to create technology and industries and weapons and things like that kind of threw the natural balance of Arda off. So how these people can at all identify with the kind of cosmology or spirituality that's being presented by Lord of the Rings,
dude,
makes no sense to me at all.
He has 4 different wealth-related companies that all have names related to Lord of the Rings.
Tolkien's estate should sue, as far as I'm concerned. Why haven't his estate sued?
He's got Valar Ventures.
Oh God.
Mithril Capital Management, which like isn't really Lord of the Rings. Erebor Bank, and then he's got Rivendell One LLC.
What the fuck?
And Lembas LLC.
What the fuck? This dude should never call on the name of the Valar. He is a fucking servant of Morgoth.
And that's kind of
see it all over his fucking face.
And that's
like,
kind of
absolutely the fuck not.
But that's what I mean. I think he's just I just think he sees it as aesthetic. After seeing the number of companies that he has listed in that way, and the way that he's just kind of used the names, I actually don't think he identifies as Sauron at all. He's just kind of someone that likes the aesthetic of Lord of the Rings. It's not that he identifies
as it. It's that, of course, that archetype will will sort of constellate around him, because that's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
So the synchronicity of him choosing his company's name to be Palantir, despite his superficial engagement with the narrative of Lord of the Rings, is telling, in my opinion, because the whole narrative is about an aspect of the Godhead that has fallen, and that has fallen into pure materialism. And this is exactly what someone like Peter Thiel represents. And yeah, I think it's disgusting that he just like uses the names in vain like that. The names of the Valar in vain. Like, geez, absolutely the fuck not. Especially my favorite Valar, I forget her name now. I'm having a brain fuck. I'll remember in a minute.
Remember when the podcast finished.
The Star Queen. If Amadan was here, he would remind me. Varda, yes. I'm a daughter of Varda, so fuck you, Peter Thiel. And yeah, it's disturbing, because you're right. These people do have a really service level engagement with Lord of the Rings. I think, and anything really, they're not very smart. Like, I think last week someone released Jeffrey Epstein's like music playlist, like his Spotify playlist. Yeah. And he just like purely listens to like Tiesto.
And not only
like the party rock album or whatever. These people have no taste. They have no soul. They have absolutely no soul. And Lord of the Rings, the sort of entire legendarium of Tolkien, is so full of soul. It's so richly packed with soul and mysticism, Christian allegory, all sorts of things. These people don't have the spiritual organs to be able to sense any of that at all. They just like it superficially, which is why they keep using the names. And I honestly think that Tolkien's estate should sue these motherfuckers, or at least send them a fucking cease and desist. It's like fucking sad.
Yeah, it is very sad.
What else is ChatGPT, Claude saying or whatever?
So it says it's evident from the choice, these are not simply random homages, but often reflect the function or ambition of the companies. While some names like Palantir have darker implications with the law due to their within the law due to their misuse, others refer to powerful, significant elements that are not inherently evil. The choice of these names can be seen as a strategic branding decision reflecting on certain worldview ambition within tech and defensive industries. Again, I don't think so, dude. I think he's just a fucking nerd that liked it as aesthetic.
Tolkien
Just
would be
like,
rolling in his grave, though, if he knew that the names of his the names from his legendarium were being used for fucking defense systems. He was deeply anti-war. He was somebody who had to fucking fight in war. The whole Lord of the Rings canon is against this. I doubt that you're right. I doubt Peter Thiel sees himself as a servant of Morgoth. But he literally is. He literally fucking is.
I don't know. Maybe it is literally like, yeah, that symbolizes like a descent into materialism.
Yeah.
That's what I'm cool about. You know, that's what I'm
like,
all
I
about.
Do that. Yeah,
let's just push ahead with that because I see that as the solution of whatever his own fucking version of fucking apocalypse and fucking
As far as
bullshit.
I'm concerned, like, Lord of the Rings is Gnostic allegory, and these people don't have the internal spiritual organs to like really sense that, and it really does disturb me how much the sort of accelerationist neo-reactionary right has globbed onto Tolkien's universe and see it as like a representation of their aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because they can only engage with stuff aesthetically. They see like Aryan looking elves and like men in costumes like fighting orcs, and they see, you know, their aspirations. They're not actually looking at the heart of the story or what it's truly about. And yeah, everything we've talked about it's all shallow engagement with it's shallow engagement and shallow imagery to project power, a sense of majesty, all of those things. And this is what our new tech elite are trying to do. And yeah, it's gross. It's disturbing. Danny says really bad. It's post 9/11 shit again. Yeah, pretty much. I remember because Lord of the Rings did come out during 9/11, the whole 9/11 period.
True.
And it was sort of one of the major criticisms that people levied against Peter Jackson at the time was that he used Tolkien's work as an allegory for the Iraq War, and that it was a way of, and there were a lot of really heavy-handed things in there about that sort of hearken to the Iraq War and like the sort of feeling of camaraderie and during war, and also kind of demonization of brown people with the Easterlings looking vaguely Arab and that kind of thing. So that this isn't the first time that Tolkien's world has been hijacked by the powers that be to push certain messages or to kind of use the numinous imagery that he was able to kind of conjure up in that universe as a way to kind of like market for things that are darker and far more not great for humanity. But yeah, I don't know. It's something that really pisses me off, and I wish people were more mad about it. I wish Tolkien's estate was more mad about it, in all honesty, but they don't seem to give a shit at all. So, yeah. And they're the only ones who have control over whether or not these billionaires can keep doing it. But yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. Just one more time for good measure, let's go to the Amazon link of Late Stage Babylon. You can find it pretty much anywhere now. It's available for pre-order.
I think it's in Waterstones and stuff as well. I should have got that link up. Don't buy it on Amazon. Buy it on Waterstones, or like, you know, a bookshop that's closest to you. Fuck buying it on Amazon. But yeah,
or Barnes and Noble or wherever it is. But you can now pre-order again. So please pre-order my book. I talk about a lot of this stuff in the book. A lot of these different themes are covered. So, and that's why I chose the themes for today's episode. So if you're interested in learning more about this stuff in depth, my book that I've been working on for the last year is definitely a good place to go look at that stuff. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight, and we'll catch you again next week. Bye.
Bye.